days ago in a port somewhere, after spending so long on this boat.
Greetings in the name of Christ. My name is Greg Garris. I'm one of the pastors here at St. Philip Presbyterian Church in Hurst, Texas. A little over a month ago, I began these short videos to prepare people for the sermon on the next Sunday. But to some, these videos are just a hook. But perhaps this Sunday, those who sailed the seven seas long ago could be transformed into something else. Make sure you watch the end of this video to see what I mean by this. I'm preaching on and wrestling with a passage in the letter of James. I preached on James a few weeks ago, and at that time I talked about this man, Martin Luther. He was a reformer in the 1500s who wanted to change the Roman Catholic Church. He had some trouble with the letter of James because he believed that it contradicted what the Apostle Paul wrote about justification. Luther thought that the letter of James should not have even been included in the Bible. But scholars have found that the letter of James has something worthy for us. And in fact, this passage in chapter 3, verses 1 through 12, we can read some practical advice. Toward the end of the passage, the writer shifts metaphors to illustrate that the words out of our mouths should tell the world something about our hearts. Like fruit we see growing tells us what kind of tree it is, and the water downstream tells us about the original source of the water. What we read in these verses is that our words say something about who we are. But this is not the only time that the writer talks about right speech. In fact, it seems that right speech is one of the three marks of true religion. He talks about this in the first chapter, verses 26 through 27. If any think they are religious and do not bridle their tongues, but deceive their hearts, their religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. One scholar wrote that for James, an unbridled tongue is a cosmic force set on evil. He goes on to say, in this passage, to compare the tongue to a horse's bridle and the rudder of a ship. What we believe is that these images were common in the day that the writer was writing. Teachers must specifically be aware of the speech the writer says at the beginning of chapter 3. At the end of the passage, we read how difficult it is to control speech, but it is so necessary to watch our tongue in our lives of faith. For if we don't, we are not giving others an example of who we are as Christians in the world. I've been reflecting on those who might have to have their speech transformed, maybe their lives rehabilitated, and I've had some fun with the image of a pirate. Come, me hearties, and see how a pirate may be changed in his speech and his life.
On the sea
Blessings and peace.